Greetings everyone. My name is Sanjiv and welcome to another edition of User Delight with Microsoft Technology. What we're going to do in this episode is to talk about how we get attachments from SharePoint, in a SharePoint list as an example, into a Microsoft Teams approval so that our managers who approve our requests can actually see this in one go and take their or make their decisions. Okay, with this, let us head on over to Teams and go from there. Over to Teams. Right, so we are now on Microsoft Teams online, and it could be on your PC as well, the thin client. And on the left-hand side here, we see activity, right? And in activity, one of the items here, the latest item, is actually a request that has come in from the administrator for the manager to approve something. So as an example, in this card here, in the approvals card, we have some general expense that has come through. It's got some details here. It also has these attachments. And then one could click on this attachment and it basically goes away and opens up and downloads the file, and the rest, you can open it to review it and then decide to approve or reject or whatever. And in this case, I can actually approve it and it goes away and submits the response here. Clearly, comment that I added, but if I had a comment, it would capture the comment as well. And it basically sends me back a status saying, this item was approved. And if I were to go over to my Power App and refresh this, it basically shows that the item here has been approved. It has actually captured the approval value. If I were to edit this flow, I'm going to edit this flow. This here is a classic approvals flow coming out of an automated line item in SharePoint, meaning that in my Power App, if I were to go in and let us say create a new expense and then I submit this, basically, I save this to SharePoint, and as the line item here in SharePoint is actually created, perhaps not this list, this one right here, as the item is actually created here, the flow gets triggered, right? So the starting point of the trigger here is when an item is created, it is in this list called Power Platform Enablement. The list name is transaction expense, and then this is the trigger. Now, once this is created, what I do is I go in here and I add an action and I say get attachments, right? So here it is, the action, and then it asks me for my SharePoint list, which is the enablement list, the site. And then I go in, actually select my transaction expense, and right here there is an ID that I could actually pick. I'm just going to delete this because I've already done it. And then if I open this up, exactly the same thing, right? You've got a site, you've got the list name, and you've got the ID. What I then do is I go ahead and initialize a variable. How do I do that? I click on the sign here, another node, another action, just say variable. And then I find my initialize variable, like how you'd actually do it in Python or whatever. You're just initializing a variable, you give it a name, say var something, var attachments, and then, var is a short form for variable. And then basically it's going to be an array because it's got, multiple files, right? So I'm going to delete this guy once again because I've got it here. So I've got a var attachments initialized here, which is an array. What I'm then going to do is I'm actually going to get the attachment contents, right? So to this, if I were to go ahead and click on the node here and say action and say get attachments here. So this again goes away and then it shows you your attachment contents, right? So open this up. If I open this up, I'm getting attachment content here, right? Here I'm getting the attachments, down here I'm actually getting the contents of those. So let's examine this. Basically, you have the site address, you have the list name, you have the ID, right? So ID of the list item, and then you have an ID of the file itself, right? So you've got two attachments, right? So you've got the IDs of those files. Now, the moment I actually click here, and let me do this, right? I'm gonna actually go ahead and then go to Power Platform Enablement, go to the list name down here, like so, and put down the ID of the item. That is the line item in SharePoint. And this one here is the ID of the file, right? So when I click this, notice what happens. It goes away and actually loops the whole thing. So apply to each of those attachments. So it is actually looping through the attachments and pulling it all into one place, right? So this apply to each here has all the attachments, right? Now, once I have this, I can add an action, and we have the variable from before, right? So I can actually load all these attachments into that array variable. So to do that, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. So I've got the attachment content, and then here I'm going to use an action called append to an array variable. We have already got this array variable up here, and I'm at the var attachments, and I'm actually appending to that, right? So in this append statement, what I'm going to do is I'm going to obviously call the name of the variable, and the value here is going to be this JSON, which actually has the name of the file and then whatever is the body, right, of your get attachments, right? So if I hover on this, it's basically talking about the display name of the item, and over here is basically your actual attachments, right? So I'm going to delete this step because we have actually done that there. So I'm going to delete this guy here. So, once we have this, now our var attachments literally has the attachments, right? So the next step is fairly straightforward. You know this, right? We basically go in and add an action here and then say approval, if I can spell it right. And then you've got start and wait for an approval. You say, first to respond, or everybody should respond, whatever. And this goes away, opens up the box here. And I'm going to actually open up the advanced item as well. And in this place, the rest of it you can fill out. I mean, this is fairly traditional, kindly review, so on and so forth. It's assigned to the approver and you provide the details, so on and so forth. When you come down to the attachments area, kindly click on this little icon here, right? If you click this, it basically goes away and asks you, hey Sanjiv, where is your variable with the attachments, right? So now I can point to the array variable, which has got all the attachments, right? We just did that before in this apply to each right here, right? See the append, we've got all the attachments here. So now I can point this attachments box here to the variable, and that's all I need to do, right? And I'm going to delete this step because I've already done it, and that's all we need to do. And from here, and if I open this up, there's my attachment, and from there, based on the approver actually approving this particular step, you send an email, and you actually go back and you update the item and so on and so forth, right? So let us actually run this, right? So let us do it over again. I hope you got the gist of what to do with your flow. It's a fairly simple exercise. All right, let's do this. I'm going to go over to my app now, and I'm going to go create a new expense. I'm going to say, Indonesia, so you get the right currency, and I'm going to basically say, hey, look, it's general expenses, and then the date is today's date here. It's not a business trip, right? So let us say it is 1,000 Indonesian rupiah. I'm going to basically say no charges, no tax out here. Now I'm going to attach these two files. In fact, I'll just attach, a couple files here, right? And then I'm going to say open, so that here are the two files. I'm ready now to submit this, right? So I'm going to save this. And as you can see out here, this is the expense is created, the line item is created. And if I scroll down here, I can actually see the two items, right? So if I go to the flow right now and refresh, so there's the flow running. To click on this flow, what it's done is that it has actually looped the attachments, the two attachments, and it's actually here in the step where someone approves it. I'm going to head on over to my Teams. I see that the request is up here. I click on it. I see my two attachments. I go ahead, and if I click on this, it downloads it. I can open it, do whatever. I'm going to say, okay, managers don't say much, and approve this. And that's about it, right? And then if it shows me the status back that this item has been approved, and if I have and view everything, it shows me that the item's actually been approved, okay? I trust that helps you to get your attachments going in your approvals, and wishing you the very best. Thank you very much.